With the Milwaukee Bucks being eliminated in the first round, and obviously, the exit not going too well for them as Damian Lillard got out for the season off a horrible Achilles injury, and Giannis kind of went out in a weird way with him beefing with Tyrese Halliburton's dad and him beefing with Benedict Mathurin. It just seems like the Bucks are at their lowest point that they have been in a while, especially after the Kyle Kuzma trade as well. But yeah, what is up, y'all, and welcome back to another video. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe before we get into anything else, and let's get into it now. So as y'all see in the title, we're going to be talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo and his future with the Bucks because, there's been some trade rumors, especially because, he hasn't really been talking or acknowledging any trade rumors, and he's not basically ruling out the possibility of him being on another team next season. So there's actually a trade that I thought was interesting, so that's what we're going to be talking about right now. And it starts off with a tweet from Legion Hoops saying, report the Pelicans are keeping close tabs on Giannis' situation in Milwaukee per Scoop B, and the quote goes, I'm told Zion could very well be on the table in a potential Giannis deal if Milwaukee chooses to explore trade options. And I honestly think this is very, very interesting, especially from the Bucks point of view, because if they can get a young star, I know Zion's not really reliable at this point in his career, but if the Bucks can get a young star and then a bunch of picks to go with that, they could feel like they could still be promising, because obviously the Bucks have none of their first round picks. So if they were to trade Giannis, they need to get a lot of first round picks and someone who can help them compete now, so they don't have to give up any important first round picks, because it would suck if they traded all their assets for Giannis, went in a tanking mode, and they don't even own their first round pick, or their pick is really good and they don't even own it. So obviously they're going to want to try to get someone back who can help them at least stay afloat, and also get a lot of things that can help them in the future, because, I don't know, man. Whatever's going on in Milwaukee right now has not been working. 3 consecutive first-round exits is not a good look. And obviously, there's been a lot of injuries. The first-round exit against the Heat and Jimmy Butler in 2023, Giannis was injured, missed some time there, and it kind of just never was the same going forward. And then in 2024, when they lost to the Pacers the first time, Giannis was also injured then. And then this last season, Dame was injured, and Giannis was basically leading the whole playoffs in points and rebounds. He hooped his butt off, but if you watch the series, no one else is doing anything, especially Kyle Kuzma. I just feel like, even trading Chris Middleton, who was not playing nearly his best basketball, even trading Chris Middleton for Kyle Kuzma was a lose of a trade, because Kyle Kuzma just completely fell off. Kyle Kuzma had a good last season in Washington, but this season just something else happened. Kyle Kuzma just isn't the Kyle Kuzma we know in the past. But yeah, that's a different story. Let's talk about more of this trade. As the official tweet from Scoop B was, he said the New Orleans Pelicans are seriously monitoring Giannis Antetokounmpo's situation in Milwaukee, like we saw before. And he also added some context saying, with a 2026 pick swap and a 2027 unprotected first from the Bucks, New Orleans has leverage, and Zion Williamson could be on the table in a potential blockbuster. So this actually makes it way more interesting, and actually way more likely that this could be a destination for Giannis, because they actually own the 2026 and 2027 Bucks picks. So if the Bucks really wanted to tank and just build from the ground up, they could trade Giannis for Zion and then get those 2 picks back, and they basically have their first round picks for the next 2 years, and they can actually tank for a top pick next year. So I don't know, man. This actually makes things way more interesting. And if you ask me, out of all the other trade rumors, I feel like this could be the best scenario for the Bucks. Like I said before, they get a young star in Zion Williamson, but they get their 2 picks back, which is more important than anything, because if they were to have a bad season next year, if they trade Giannis, they probably will. And if they were to have that situation go out, they would want their first round pick so they can get a top pick in the draft. There's some studs coming out. They have AJ DeBanza coming in next year. He's a freaking stud. So I don't know, man. Maybe they want to tank for him. They have Darren Peterson. There's a lot of good guys that they could get next season if they were to go that route. And even Zion's going to win you some games. Zion's a good guy. He has good potential. If he just stays on the court, he's one of the best players in the league. So obviously, if Giannis and the Bucks come to an agreement that they want to pursue a trade, I feel like the Pelicans actually makes a lot of sense. And thinking about the assets around Giannis, if he were to go to New Orleans, because the West would just get so much stacked, every team would be elite. Already right now, as a Warriors fan, I know the West is freaking stacked, and if Giannis goes over to the West too, that's going to be even scarier. But if you look at the Pelicans roster they can have around Giannis, they would have, DeJounte Murray, if he's healthy. Hopefully he comes back healthy. They have CJ McCollum, who's a good player. He's 33, so he's kind of on the older side, but he's still a good player. They have some good guys that they could build around Giannis. They have Trey Murphy, who's also good. I don't know if he would be in the trade, but if they can keep Trey Murphy and even Herb Jones, that could be good assets around Giannis. And I don't really know if it's a title contender, but obviously the Pelicans would have to make other moves if they traded for Giannis so they can build around him better. But the Pelicans are not a bad situation. And yes, the Pelicans are a small market team, or I guess a medium market team. I don't know, maybe on the smaller side. But they're definitely not a big market team, if you get what I'm saying. And I just don't think Giannis would really care about that because he's been in Milwaukee his whole career, and Milwaukee's not a big market team either. So I feel like, and also just seeing Giannis's personality, he's a very, humble guy. He's not really egotistical at all. He's just a very down-to-earth guy. And I feel like, if he's been in Milwaukee for all these years, I think 12 years now, he was drafted in 2013. So if he's been in Milwaukee for 12 years, I think he'd be perfectly fine going to New Orleans and building up from there. And I feel like, if he goes to New Orleans, other superstars will want to sign there. Other good role players will want to sign there. So, Giannis could bring a lot of attention to New Orleans and, make them a title contender. They've never been that before since they've came into the league. So, maybe Giannis can do that for them. But yeah, y'all, let me know what you guys think in the comments for this one. I think this could be a good place for Giannis if he decides to be traded from Milwaukee. And I honestly think it's a good trade scenario for both sides. The Pelicans can compete, and, the Bucks build up, get their first-round picks back, and get a good young star in Zion. I don't really know exactly what the specific trade asset would be, or the trade deal, the trade package, whatever you want to say it. I don't know what the exact package would be, but, it's going to be something around those 2 first-round picks and Zion as the base, and then you can kind of just work up from there. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think about this. Like the video and subscribe like I said earlier, and now we're out.